John, are we ready to go? Right, very good. All right, good evening. It's currently 5:30 p.m., and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Oshtemo Charter Township regular meeting for October 28th, and I invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we'll move to item number 3, which is remote location identification for remote attendance when permitted by statute. Our treasurer, Bushka, is not with us this evening. That's an excused absence. I see the rest of the body here with us in person, so there's no need for remote location identification. At this time, I invite a member of this body to share a township mission, vision, or core value.
I will do that. Each customer is welcomed and that their input is wanted.
Thank you, Trustee Chapman. Next, we'll move to item number 5, which is approval of the agenda. And at this time, it's appropriate for a member of this body to make any additions, deletions, or suggestions before we approve the agenda.
Yeah, I'd like to propose that we change the agenda to the proposal that I passed along to everybody. There's no change in the items that are on the agenda. There's no new agenda items proposed. The item number 8B, the memo energy system zoning ordinance text amendments, would move down to item 14 as its own item there, not to be confused with anything else. It makes it the sole focus of our discussion. Item number 7, the public comment, will remain there, and that allows anyone who's here to speak on something that isn't related to energy system zoning ordinance, which I'm guessing most people are, that they will be able to have the time and the attention of everyone at that point. And or reorder things so that our staff who are going to make reports will be able to make their reports and then move on. And if they don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting, they can go home and be with their families. So I'm suggesting that we go with the proposed agenda that I presented, and I'm going to make a motion that we substitute that.
Support. So the problem with that support is that that is not the agenda on the township website. And so Trustee Sikora did provide a copy of a proposed agenda change, which includes moving item 8B to item 14 for board discussion about that memo. Public comment will remain on consent or non-regular session items. If the board votes this change, then the memo will no longer be a part of the consent agenda. It will become its own item at item 14. However, public comment, item number 7, remains the same. So you can provide public comment at the top of the agenda, or you can provide public comment in item number 16. I appreciate your concern for the staff, Trustee Sikora, and I assure you that I had an opportunity to discuss with each of the staff the items that they are here to answer questions to, and they are fully prepared to do so. So I will entertain a motion. Yes, for the agenda changes. So that changes.
Motion and a second.
And that is just to move add item 8B to number 14, correct?
Correct.
No, and to reorder the items, the other items, 10 through 13, I believe it was.
Trustee
Well, that's
Sikora, I appreciate your thoughtfulness of sending this at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And so he's proposing, on the agenda that's in the packet is discussion and consideration of the board retreat facilitator. He's proposing to change that to discussion and consideration of the bid award for the Fruit Belt Trail. He is proposing moving item number 11, which is in the published packet, from discussion and consideration of the bid award regarding Fruit Belt Trail to discussion and consideration of the traffic control order regarding Kale Avenue. Item 12, changes from the first reading regarding text amendments to the non-motorized. Actually, item 12 remains the same. Item 13, in the agenda, the published agenda before us is discussion and consideration of the traffic control order. And Trustee Sikora is recommending discussion and consideration of the board retreat facilitator contract. So there's more than just moving item 8B.
Yes, and I support, as stated, I agree with Trustee Sikora that there's no reason to keep people here that could leave early to go home with their families. I think it makes sense.
I have a motion by Trustee Sikora and a support by Trustee Cole. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries 5-1 with 1 absent. So the agenda is reorganized as approved. So we're going to have to move through this a little bit softly so we don't forget anything. Item number 6 is public official and community partner updates. And at this time, this is a place we reserve on the agenda for our public officials or community partner updates to share any information with the board. I see we have our County Commissioner Dale DeLue here.
And I will be brief, Board and citizens of Oshtemo Township. I am your county commissioner. I don't know if any of you are aware of that. My name is Dale DeLue. If you want to make contact with me, go to the website for Kalamazoo County. I have an email, and my personal cell phone number's on that website as well. So, and I'll keep this brief for the board. A week ago tonight, the county commission approved and passed its $325 million budget. So now that that's over, we can concentrate on other things, and I want to apologize for the commissioners dragging their feet on these community grants. I think they should have been awarded a month or so ago. But at the next meeting, we'll be awarding the grants, and all I can tell you is that Oshtemo Township's request for their grant appears to be strongly supported by the commission. So hopefully you'll get everything you ask for. If not, I'm personally confident that you'll get something at your request. So. You have a full house tonight. That's all I wanted to report.
Any questions for Commissioner? I just want to say that our planning works, Anna Horner from Public Works noted that there was a little mishap on the grant award sheet, and I contacted the county administrator ahead of the meeting. So, and I did watch the whole meeting. So, I mean, even though it kind of slowed the process down, I appreciated that he acknowledged that the numbers that were reflected in the grant sheet
Yes.
were not the intention. So, we'll just wait for that next conversation.
It'll be a week from tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, now we will move to item number 7, which is public comment on consent agenda or non-regular session items. So we've moved the memo off of the consent agenda, and we've turned it into a regular session item. And so if you're here to speak on something that is not a part of the consent agenda, which at this point just involves the meeting minutes, the energy system and the BEST project is now a part of the regular session, and public comment will be available to that during item 16 for public comment. Am I correct on that, Attorney Porter?
Yes, or you could open it up at item 14 after board discussion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. Very good. Next, we move forward to item 8, the consent agenda, which consists of the meeting minutes from the regular meeting of October 14th. Is there any board comment on the consent agenda?
I make that motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 14th.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Farmer, and support by Trustee Sikora. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we move to item 9, which is our budget amendments. And we will move through these one at a time. So the department heads, the first item A is the third quarter worksheet, which is, these are our third quarter budget amendments. And I'm gonna, before we move into this, I'm gonna ask Planning Director, Public Works Director, rather, Anna Horner, to go ahead and, believe she has an amendment.
Yep, they're on the second page, which is packet page 8. I'll let everybody flip there. The last section, under Public Works Annual Reductions, we would like to remove the reduction from the non-motorized on South 9th Street. We received a partial invoice from the Road Commission, who's our Act 51 agency on this project and is going to be administering the grant funds for us, that they would like a deposit this year. And we had planned to spend all the money since the construction's happening next year. So we will follow up with them on some of the questions we have related to paying for it this year versus next year, and then we can bring it back at a subsequent meeting. So that's the one for $745,000.
Are there any clarifying questions? So, Anna made the appropriate carryover moves for third quarter budget amendments that, for projects that we didn't anticipate going forward in 2025. And then since the publishing of this packet, the Road Commission has requested a down payment essentially towards the construction of that. And it leaves us in a little bit of quandary. First of all, it's not something we normally see where they are requesting a partial payment in advance. And I didn't have a chance to talk to the director today to find out why that was the case. And so prior to moving that money, I talked to Ms. Horner today, and we'll reach out to the Road Commission to ask why they are asking for a partial payment in advance. And it's a little bit of, not a little bit, the problem for us is that we're supposed to budget for dollars that are going to be spent in the current year, except for that path is not going to be constructed this year. So why they are asking for a down payment, and it's enough of a money of, enough of an amount, like, you know, would we rather have those funds carry forward and earn interest in our bank account and then expend those when the project is done versus give those to the road commission in advance. So that is why that amendment is necessary on the, with regard to that particular item, for the budget amendment sheet. And do you have any board questions on that particular item? All right.
Are all of the budget amendments with memos, are those all in the spreadsheet?
No, they're not, so we're gonna
Okay.
have to sort that out. Because some
Some of them
department
are,
heads,
yeah.
like, they do them in advance, like, very smartly, and then they end up on the sheet, so we'll have to sort those out. But on the third quarter, other than striking the budget amendment that Anna just described, are there any other questions on the budget amendments that are in the sheet? I can talk through them if you'd like to. Huh? Yeah, if there are no questions.
I would move to accept the presented budget amendments with the amendment as presented by the Public Works Director.
Support?
Right, I have a motion by trustee Ford, support by trustee Sikora. At this time, is there any public comment on this item? No public comment on this item. Any board discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next, we have item B, which is a fire vehicle fund reimbursement. I believe Chief is here to discuss this. I think it's pretty straightforward, but I'll let you present it, Chief.
Good evening. Yeah, as Supervisor Bell said, it is pretty straightforward. I'd just answer any questions if you have them on this.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to move 77,000 from revenue to expenditures for the capital revenue, 77,000 to capital overlay for the fire vehicle.
Support?
I have a motion by trustee Cole, support by trustee Sikora. Any public comment on this item? Seeing no. If you please come to the podium to make public comment. Remember, this is public comment.
My question is, what is the vehicle, can this be described in a little bit more detail, what the funds are going to be used for?
Sure. I'll go ahead. Any other public comment on this item? All right, I'll close public comment. Chief, at this time, do you want to go into a little further description about what this budget amendment entails?
Absolutely. So we had last year an accident that totaled out one of our vehicles, and insurance paid out $77,000 for that vehicle. When the money came in, it went into a revenue account, and we need to move that money from revenue into expenditures to pay for the equipment, the outfitting, and everything to do with that vehicle. So we used money from our expense account that was there before, but we never put the money in from the revenue to cover it, so that's what I'm asking for.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the money that came in, the revenue, was an insurance payment that resulted from a vehicle that was a total loss. And so that, the money went into a capital revenue line, and you're asking for it to be moved to capital outlay.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? So I believe the motion was trustee Cole and support by trustee Sikora. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we'll move to item D, which is a budget amendment for legal filing fees. Attorney Porter, do you want to describe this for the board?
Sure. In 2018, the township acquired a piece of property that was going through the reversion process with the county of Kalamazoo. We acquired the property because a number of the business owners in the 9th Street Stadium area had issues regarding drainage. We acquired the property. We've tried to work with the landowners to address the drainage issues because they do affect a number of properties. Haven't been able to reach a resolution on that, and part of it stems from really a fairly complex set of agreements dealing with drainage and affecting multiple parcels. And the only way to unwind that Gordian knot is to literally do a title search for the various properties to determine which property owner has which obligation to perhaps accept water, which property owner has the right to discharge water onto the neighboring property. We want to try to help unwind that issue and address what the township then can ultimately do with the property it now owns. And to do that, we need to shift money from our legal notice fund to the GL line 101-250-74,000 so that we can use that money to do a title search to determine what existing agreements are out there, how they impact each property owner, and then hopefully sit down and bring these property owners together.
And I just want to note for the board, this is not new money carryover. This is money moving from the legal notices line that is being reappropriated to the legal filing fees in order to do this work.
And we have those funds because, in part, because of my paralegal's ability to drive down our costs for legal noticing.
And Jim, what was the purpose of purchasing the land? What were we intending to do with that piece of property to
Well,
help the situation?
you know what they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, yeah.
The intent at the time that the township acquired the property was it was literally a piece of property in the middle of all these surrounding business owners.
Drainage.
And it was reverting back. We could obtain the property for nothing, $0 basically, or just minimal amount of taxes. And our hope was to sit down with all the property owners and then reestablish an organized drainage system to deal with the water runoff in the area. Well, unfortunately, because these properties have sold and some of them have resold, people tend to forget what's of record and what they're obligated to do in the public record. And so there are these easements. I know of some that are out there. They run with the land. Some of the property owners are not familiar with them. And so we need to clarify who owes what duty to whom. And if we do that, we're hoping we can bring everybody together and get them to agree to a means of managing the stormwater without resulting in litigation. But I
And if
can't unwind that until I know who owes what duty to whom.
And if they don't, still?
If they don't, unfortunately, the township may have to take legal action to compel the establishment of a drainage district, which is a much more expensive option. We really don't want to have to do that if we can come to a more amicable resolution.
So this is a step to get all the parties at the table to just understand who's draining into this retention pond right now. So the
Correct.
township owns it, although the benefit is to the commercial property owners that are draining into that pond. And because we purchased it in the past, we're responsible for the maintenance. And this is a step towards finding out who owns what easements, where the water is draining from, and then bring those parties to the table, and then establish an agreement where they are going to be responsible for the maintenance that they are draining into.
Okay, so it's the portion that each person or property owner would owe, right, towards it?
How they would contribute to handling
Right.
the drainage. It shouldn't be paid by the taxpayers. We're trying to make the responsible parties be responsible and take care of their own drainage. but the only way to determine legally who has that responsibility would be to do a title search on each person.
And do you feel confident that at that point, once that is known to all of the current business owners, that they would be receptive to saying, okay,
I think we would have a much better
Most of
chance
them.
of getting them to agree to a agreed upon resolution
With
once
the
they know and
facts.
understand
Yeah.
the facts, and once
Okay.
they know and understand what obligations they have by a pre-existing drainage agreements. But
Okay.
I think some of the owners are not even aware that they have any obligation.
right,
which
and that's
is-
what I can't understand. How could they have not?
Well, unfortunately, people buy and sell property. They don't always look at their title policies. They don't always look at the reservations. They don't look at recorded documents that affect property. Even businessmen or women fail to sometimes fully understand the obligation when they acquire property.
Jim, can you remind us, if you know off the top of your head, I mean, that property, that drainage area, what year was that purchased by the township?
Oh,
It's been
boy.
a number of years ago.
I'm thinking was it
I want to say it was 2018 or 19.
2018?
Yeah. And so the reason this elevated and it has to get sorted out is the drainage pond became non-functional. And so some money had to be invested into cleaning it out, and that cannot continue. The township money had to be invested to cleaning it out to make it functioning. And so in order to get the responsible parties, this is the first step.
Okay, thank you for that.
Is there any other questions on this item? No other board questions? Entertain a motion?
I move to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $8,000 from legal notices to legal filing fees for the title search services with Sun Title.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Ford, a second by clerk Farmer. At this time, is there any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we move to item E, paid on-call fire salary, FICA and pension.
She skipped D.
Did I skip something? Oh, I did. I'm sorry, that's 2 legal things. Item D, legal contracted services. Legal was twice, so I crossed them both off. Legal contracted services. Jim, do you want to present this item, please?
Yes, the citizens may not know, but we do budget a fairly significant amount annually for cleanup of properties that are blighted. We do that to protect the property values of our citizens. We had 3 properties that we budgeted a significant amount for cleanup. 2 of those cases are in current litigation and will probably not expend the monies for cleanup this year. One property that we wanted to get cleaned up is currently in a guardianship situation that is yet to be completed. And so there's 3 properties we cannot address this year with contracted services cleanup, and we need to return $85,532 to carry over.
I told her it didn't have to be that detailed, but she really did take it down to the dollar.
I'm surprised she didn't put the cents in there.
Right.
Yeah, Sarah is very much a detailed person, thank God.
Is there any questions for Attorney Porter regarding, this is money that was previously budgeted for contracted services for blight cleanup that will not be expended in 2025, and it's being returned to carryover. Are there any questions for Attorney Porter?
I would make one further comment so the public does understand. When we have to take these actions against the property owner, ultimately that cost is assessed to the property owner and paid back through their taxes. So again, it doesn't come from the taxpayers.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment, drawing down 85 and change, $85,532.
Support.
A motion by Clerk Farmer, support by Trustee Sikora. Any discussion on the motion? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, I'll close public comment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6 with 1 0. Now we will go to item E, paid on-call fire salary, FICA, and pension. And we have Fire Chief here to present this item to you.
Good evening again. So, as stated in here, we underestimated the cost of what the paid-on-call program was going to cost us last year when we were doing the budget for this year, mainly because we hired 4 new firefighters out of the paid-on-call ranks. We thought the paid-on-call ranks wouldn't cost as much money. We've had other paid-on-call firefighters step up and start working more hours, and therefore, this is falling short this year. So in order to keep that in the green and keep those paid-on-call firefighters working, we're asking for the budget amendment where you can see we're drawing money out of different accounts that we believe will be fine for this year that are, we kind of estimate our percentage. So if I look at we're 80% through the year and this budget line is 60% through the, 60% used, I can use some of that money in anticipation that we'll draw in okay. So it is a large amount overall, but you can see we're looking at $50,000 to fire pay on call, $1,200 for FICA, and $5,000 for their pension.
Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Is there any questions from the board regarding this item?
Yeah, I have a question. Just if we hired the full-time, how did our paid time off, our paid on-call go up? How was there a mismatch? Are we not utilizing our full-time, or?
No, so
I'm not understanding the mismatch.
our paid on call, the previous year, let's say we budgeted $150,000 for them. We hired 4 of those people, and those people were working a lot of hours, and we knew they were gonna make good addition for a full-time fire. And in taking those positions out, we thought that the rest of the firefighters wouldn't work as many hours. They'd continue doing what they do. And that savings was projected into the budget. So when we, this year, started running the numbers, we're finding out that some of the other firefighters, the paid-on-call firefighters, are working more hours and stepping up, and that's where we're drawing short.
Any other questions for the chief on this item?
No. I will make a motion to move the approved budget amendment as outlined.
A second.
A motion by trustee Cole, a second by clerk Farmer. Any discussion on the motion? This time I'll open this item up for public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries, 6 with 1 absent. Next, we have item number F, which is for our building department. And so, outlined in this memo for you, which is, we've talked about the building department quite a bit. Permits and inspections are up dramatically. And so because permits and inspections are up dramatically, we under budgeted for the salaries for our contractors who provide those services. So in front of you is a budget amendment to, ensure that we have enough in the building department contracted services, the electrical inspector, the mechanical inspector, the plumbing inspector, and the backup building inspector in order to pay those professionals through the end of the year.
I have one question on this memo.
Sure.
Everything was fine. It says in the background, it says additional funding to support inspection services and fulfill a contractual non-compete agreement.
Oh,
What's
thank you.
this non-compete agreement?
Thank you.
thing?
Thank you
That wasn't
for
clear to
bringing
me.
that for me.
Okay.
I appreciate that. So, when we hired the building inspector in 2023,
Yes.
there was a non-compete clause in his work agreement. However, non-competes were being challenged in the federal court. And so, essentially, we anticipated that non-competes were no longer going to be enforceable due to federal court action, correct?
It was the action of the EEOC said that non-competes were not enforceable. That determination got reversed by,
So that court challenge is gone. And so this amount represents a negotiated amount
That
of the
reinstates the
savings.
non-compete
The
portion of the
non-compete,
contract?
at the savings of more than 50% of what they were asking for.
Okay, that's fair. I just wanted to make sure I understood the context.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expected that non-competes were going to be a thing of the past, but that is no longer the case.
All right. Are you ready for a motion?
Sure.
I move to approve the budget amendment as outlined.
Support?
I have a motion by trustee Ford, support by trustee Sikora. Any discussion on the motion? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we'll move to item 10, which is discussion and consideration of the bid award regarding the Fruit Belt Rail Trail project. It's kind of a little bit of a celebration. It's kind of the high point of the night, I think. We have our, oh shoot, now I gotta figure out where we're at in the board packet. No, but it
The new
moved. But it moved, so I've got to, just a second, let me tell you where that, because we amended the agenda. Page 111, thank you. All right, so for the board's reference and the public's reference, this is page number 111 in the board packet.
All right, good evening, everyone. I am here to provide an update on the Fruit Belt Rail Trail project and also request that the board authorize Supervisor Bell to enter into a contract with Bulkema Construction, who was one of the bidders on the Fruit Belt Rail Trail project. So our project went out to bid in September, and we are fortunate enough to have 3 bids on the project. And in the packet on page 112, there is the bid tabulation, which shows all 3 of the bids. As a reminder, this project is partially funded through the Department of Natural Resources, and per their grant guidelines, we are required to accept the lowest reputable bid, which I think is fantastic. I'm happy to report that Bulkema Construction came in under bid on this project. And during communications with our grant coordinator, they let us know that we're one of the very few projects that have come in under budget. So we are a little bit ahead, and I'm just going to say a little bit ahead because you never know what happens during construction. I also provided follow-up on that, page 113, I think, is the budget breakdown for the project. So I'm just here to answer any questions on the specific project and request that the board allow Supervisor Bell to enter into the contract with Bulkema Construction so that we can start this project.
Thank you, Vanessa. Are there any questions from the board?
No questions. Congrats. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
Congratulations.
your part in getting us across the finish line.
Yeah,
It's been a
and
multi-year effort.
as a reminder, this is a reimbursement-based grant, so we spend first, and the state reimburses us 75% of what we spend. So when the project comes in under budget, then that also reduces our grant match as well. So hopefully at the end of this, we will come in well under budget, enough to complete the project and still remain under budget.
Could you, just for the audience's benefit, or anyone who doesn't know, when is the trail going to be open?
Yeah, the trail is open currently. For those that have been following along, Consumers Energy did a gas line upgrade through the corridor this summer. So it was closed partially during that construction phase. That has completed. The trail going from Erie Street, Erie and Chime, all the way to 6th Street is completely open. from Sixth Street to the the township border, the west segment of it is still, hasn't seen as much construction, so I will, if you are a trail user, I would stick between the Erie Street and the Sixth Street segment of it for right now. There's a few little muddy spots, so wear your boots, but the trail is open for use. I was on it yesterday, and there were so many people enjoying it, and I just love to see that. Once we enter in this contract with Bulkema Construction, they have let us know that first in the spring, so February and March, they will start the project. So we have a deadline of 2 years for this project, which is November of '26. We're planning a grand opening in October, so we are hoping that there will be enough time this summer to complete that project. There's a couple other adjacent projects going on at the same time, and I think it will all kind of wrap up at the same time and be a really great celebration time.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the Parks Director? All right, thank you, Vanessa. This is a pivotal point in a big project that you
Yeah.
inherited when you came to the township, so it's
Yes.
going to be very exciting.
I'm very excited.
Yeah,
This
it's good
this
to
has
be
been a
at this
great
point.
experience, and I'm excited to launch this project for the community.
All right, if there are no other questions from the board,
I'll move that we authorize the supervisor to enter into a contract with Alcoma Construction for the Fruit Belt Rail Trail project.
Second.
I have a motion by trustee Sikora, a second by trustee Ford. Any board discussion on the motion? No? At this time, I will offer up the opportunity for public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we have item 11, discussion and consideration regarding the traffic control order regarding KL Avenue. Just a second.
123.
123, thank you. Page 123 in your packet. And I'm pleased to welcome our engineer, who also is a professional traffic control engineer, traffic engineer.
Yeah, traffic engineer.
To bring forward this item.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Public Works is requesting that the board adopt traffic control order 25-01, and that's to prohibit parking on the shoulders along KL between 9th and 11th Street. And that's it. So if you have any questions.
Any questions for Sharon?
You also are approving a budget amendment, right? Or you?
Yes, that's
Oh, yes,
right,
fine.
yeah. It's just moving within the same GL line, within the blue line from capital outlay to capital outlay. We just need $80 because we have to pay the permit fee for the road commission. So that's where the monies will be going to.
Thank you.
And just to, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, trustee Chapman.
No, thank you for taking this up. This is not a safe area by any means, so hopefully this will be effective, at least a start to calming a situation in that area.
Actually, I drove through there yesterday, and I noticed that the trucks that are normally parked on the south side were not there. They were parked in the grass across the street, so.
Well, it's a regular place of contact, both to my office as well as ordinance enforcement, and I imagine the legal department as well, concerns about the parking along Kale Avenue. And Sharon, do you mind describing a little bit why we have to go through this process? Like, why can't we just issue tickets from our, what is the
Right.
purpose of that?
Well, it's just to inform the public that you can't park there. So, one, it is a hazardous situation. You've got fast speeds along KL, and you also have high traffic movements through the area. And it's becoming more and more urbanized. And basically what happens is, I guess Jim can speak more to it because I don't know but per the legislation, we have to go ahead and do our investigations, make a determination, and if we feel as an engineer that it's an unsafe situation, we can go ahead and then write an order And that will allow the police and the sheriff departments to write the tickets.
For no-
But there has to be an issue, there has to be a determination, then an issue of the order, and then it has to be filed with the county clerk department. And then from that point, we have to ask the road commission if we can go ahead and put the signs within their right of way. And then, once that's all done, then we can go ahead and issue the order and then have the police write the tickets. I will say this is the first for the township. So we are going sort of through the process and working sort of all the, loose ends. And then hopefully by the end of this, we'll have a process written out so that it's very streamlined.
And I think it's important to note for the record that that is a stretch of road that we have had 3, am I correct? 2 or 3 fatalities in the last several years from pedestrians, from vehicles, so.
No, I'm real pleased that this board and our township engineer brought an additional engineer on staff. We can do this in-house without paying an outside traffic engineer to do the studies and get the order in place, make our community safer for our residents. This is a great move on the township's part.
Yeah, we are very lucky to have our own traffic engineer on staff, so it's a double bonus for us
Right.
when you came to
Yeah.
the township. So are there any
Thanks.
other questions for Sharon from the board?
And thanks, trustee Sikora. I keep forgetting about the budget and money's being moved around.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
I'll
good.
make the motion then.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adopt the TCO as outlined.
Second.
Motion by trustee Chapman.
So hold on, there's budget amendment
Budget
too.
amendment.
Yeah.
Oh, and the budget, the
Oh,
$80.
thank you. He said as outlined, so. Okay, so I have a motion by trustee Chapman, second by trustee Cole. Not yet, I'm going to next. All right, I have a motion and a second at this time. We'll open the opportunity for public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing no public comment, I'll close public comment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we have item 12. It's the first reading regarding a text amendment to non-motorized facilities and sidewalk ordinance. That is going to be on
117.
117? No, that's
115,
page 115.
yes.
And we have our ordinance enforcement officer, Alan Miller here, who brought this request forward. And if you would present this item to the board, please.
Evening. The reason we're submitting this is last winter I was able to identify an issue mostly in business districts, Maple Hill Drive, West Main area. I had very little complaints about snow removal on sidewalks in the residential areas. But what came to our attention is that when we had a business in that area simply just refused to clear the snow, the process for issuing a citation, going through court, having the legal office submit for a compliance order was very lengthy. That doesn't do any good for the vulnerable adults that live in that area who were blowing Sherry's phone up with the complaints about those sidewalks. What I started looking at was the plant growth ordinance and how we utilize a contractor to take care of those problems and then just bill the property owner. And if they don't pay it, that gets assessed on their taxes. I went to Jim, I went to Jim and said, hey, can we do this with snow removal? This way, we can go in, remove the snow, get it off the sidewalks, and those people can freely use the sidewalks without any problems. And we would bill them for the contracting services, and it would go to their taxes if they refuse to pay that bill. The one other issue was the time period. We had 48 hours in the ordinance that we would normally go from the end of a snow event for 48 hours. And you're well aware we can have multiple snow events within a 48-hour period. It was very difficult to enforce. just spent a lot of time making phone calls, making contacts with these businesses, trying to keep the sidewalks in that area clear. I think I did a little bit of research with some surrounding municipalities, and one I found actually uses this same method with the contractors. Another one actually has a 24-hour period also. So a little from each one went into this. Ultimately, I think it's going to benefit those residents that have to use buses, are using power chairs. I actually would see people on the road over there in their little power chairs in the snow trying to get around. This way, that's not going to happen.
Can you tell us a little bit about your investigation you did before recommending that there was the change to 24 hours versus 48? As far as it's in alignment with other communities around us.
Yes, you'd be surprised, a lot of different communities do things differently. The two that I looked at that surround us, one of them has a 48-hour, but uses contractors. One has a 24-hour, and they even went one step further and said if there's ice developing, it's 12 hours. But they don't mention anything about using contractors in their ordinance either, so a lot of different ordinances.
Is there any questions for Mr.
During-
Miller? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought during budget discussions, we had talked about providing snow removal. So how would that?
So
I guess
there's two components to that. So in the ordinance enforcement in the police budget, we allocated $5,000 to ordinance enforcement to go ahead and if they get non-compliance, to go ahead and hire a contractor, get the snow removed, and send an invoice to the property owner. The second component was in our Public Works Department, and that is about the township taking on, as a part of its routine maintenance, and roads we have not identified, but I think we hope to do that in 2026, where the township will provide snow removal along some major thoroughfares through the township, like 9th Street, and, where there's a lot of traffic. So there's those are two different things.
No, I understand that. I just was trying to figure out, because I thought we had actual quotes. Did we not have actual quotes from people for the year? I thought we had.
I think we've had quotes
So
for
we must have
one-off
had some
services
idea.
and I think Greg looked at it.
But what were they looking at? Which streets?
We don't know,
I mean,
but we didn't ever
yeah.
define like a service level agreement from a policy perspective, so we haven't been able to put that out for an
Okay.
official bid or anything.
No, I think the ordinance is a great idea. It's needed. I hate seeing in the winter the people in their wheelchairs in the road, but, so I am absolutely in support of this. I just am also in support of us doing through Public Works as well.
And that
when-
will come, yeah, I think that's the plan, to have that component come too, but with regard to this text change, I mean, even though it affects the entire township, the overwhelming number of complaints we get are not on residential properties, they're on commercial properties. And they're commercial properties that are, just flat out ignoring ordinance enforcement's contact until finally have to take it to court to get compliance. And this will alleviate some of those steps and just,
So
yeah, go ahead.
I would just want to comment, I can support this tonight, that's fine. I think this leaves a lot to be desired. Anytime that we're going to put the onus on the property owner that abuts the public facility to keep it clean, your compliance rate's going to be suboptimal, right? You've now got individual property owners individually responsible for clearing it on their schedule. I think the township would be better served to institute a special assessment in these areas that are of importance and contract that service. I think this is an improvement, but it's just a cat and mouse game and probably poor overall return as far as getting the snow cleared regularly, so.
And do we have a mode of how we're going to, advise these businesses of our new ordinance prior to, or are we just gonna hit them when they don't?
Walk through, if you get a call from a resident that is particularly the West Main and Drake and Maple Hill Drive are the most, are
Yeah.
where we hear the most from.
Yeah, I believe
People trying
Alan's
to use it.
mentioned doing a mailing, notifying the business
Oh,
owners
right.
along West Main.
Yeah.
that
In,
this
in
is what's
addition,
gonna happen.
in addition to that, the sheriff's department now has a business community police officer out here. I was gonna provide him with copies of this when he's making his business contacts, he can hand those out.
Perfect.
Well, and if you wanna do a mailing, when we do if this is approved for first reading and set for second reading, maybe we do a budget
Tax bills?
amendment. Well, or we fund a mailing when the second reading is approved.
It'll go in the newsletter also.
Yeah, and I like the idea of having the CPO do it because that person is already making those connections with the businesses, so it's not like it's less of a heavy-handed.
Yeah.
It's a, look, let me explain to you why this is happening, so, okay, I'm in support of this. I'll make a motion if we're done.
Set
with
for
Q&A.
second reading? To approve and set, I mean,
To approve for first reading, I'll make a motion to approve for first reading the text amendments to the non-motorized facilities sidewalks ordinance number 604, section 294.007, maintenance of sidewalks and non-motorized facilities.
Is that second reading on?
Oh,
set for
and
second reading.
Second reading on
November 10th.
what date?
November 10th.
November 10th, my birthday, thank you. I'll be here.
Support.
a motion by trustee Cole, support by trustee Ford. Any board discussion on the motion? No, at this time, I'll open this item up for public comment. Is there any public comment on this item? No, absolutely not, no.
I just wanted to clarify, so this is going to affect the whole township, not just businesses, so this could affect residential homes as well? They could be getting these charges as well?
Yes, it is for the whole township, but as Attorney Porter can tell you, if we do receive a complaint, we're gonna go there, investigate it, determine if there's some type of reason or situation going on. Just because there is a violation doesn't mean we necessarily are out writing tickets. The change in this, just so everybody knows, isn't so we can just go out and write tickets. It's about serving the residents that are in that area better so that they can utilize the sidewalks.
The primary focus will be on the commercial businesses. We typically don't have a big problem with residential
Residences.
homeowners.
We have another gentleman waiting for public comment. If you go ahead and approach. If you state your name, you don't have to, but in your
Sure,
address.
John. So one of the things that I would recommend when you're taking this into account, he referred to the 48 hours or 24 hours and the 12 hours. Those are associated with Portage, Michigan. And so some of those things should be taken into account because there's a difference between assessing people additional tax on their property that they are owed. There's different rules and regulations that go with tax assessments. And then putting a lien, because that's essentially what you're talking about, is putting a lien on somebody's property without first providing them notice that they owe a debt to the city or to the township. So it should be first that they owe a debt to the city or the township, and then if they do not comply further from there, then they can assess a lien. Skipping the debt assessment or the debt obligation prior to a lien, I think is a little, I don't know. The attorney can answer that question better than I can, but I don't think it's appropriate to, you're essentially putting a lien on somebody else's taxes before there's a thing. And I've actually had that situation
Except it's
before.
provided for in state law.
Sure. And so that, you still have the authority. I'm not disagreeing with that. But, and so there are questions that go back and forth because I as a property owner, also had this very similar incident where I was right across the street from the people who actually do all of the landscaping, snow removal for the city of Portage. And then I had some very eager township or city employees tell me that I needed to plow and de-ice the sidewalk. And I also paid for the same people to also take care of my sidewalk as well. And so since the city sent me a picture of my sidewalk not being cleared, and then I informed them that I used the same one that they do. And then the contractors also informed me that we are not obligated to do that per the city ordinance, that we have 48 hours. And yes, there may be 12 hours, but it's 48 hours after the last snowfall. So in subsequent storms, we can't expect people to go out and shovel for hours straight. And so that's why those things are put in place. So I would just caution before we just jump to us putting any fees on people's properties, regardless of whether they're residential or commercial, without first giving them some sort of debt obligation that is owed, and then giving them an opportunity. Yes, we don't have the time frame, and all of those things are a great concern, but, you know, seems a little aggressive unnecessarily so to do that, so. that's
Thank
it.
you. Is there any other public comment on this item? Seeing no further public comment, we have a motion on the table. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we have item 13, which is discussion and consideration regarding a board retreat facilitator. Page 23. So as described here in the memo, the board, we've been working towards trying to get into strategic planning for going on a year. We were able to put out a RFP for a strategic planner for the board. We were lucky to receive, I believe it was 8 submissions. We then had an internal work group, and the three of the 8 submissions were discussed in detail, and the work group recommends that the contract be awarded to Peter Dams and Associates. I think primarily, and the work group included Treasurer Bushka, Clerk Farmer, Attorney Porter, and myself. And in the end, we all believed that not only was his bid the least expensive, but he also, based on his municipal and public sector clients, came with the highest number of relative clients that he's worked with in the past that are most similar to the township compared to the other proposals submitted. I'm hoping that if the board approves the recommendation of the committee, that we would begin our board retreat process in the first quarter of 2026. And as a reminder, we did place funding for a facilitator in our 2026 contract, and this amount proposed in this proposal is less than we put in the draft 2026 budget.
I'd make a motion to select Dams and Associates to facilitate the board retreat.
Second.
I have a motion by Clerk Farmer, a second by Trustee Ford. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I have a couple questions.
Sure, go ahead.
It says that, you said that you went with the one that happened to be the lowest, but it also says on here that the range of fees was $5,000 to $29,500. Can you talk about the low bid one at $5,000 versus the $11,250?
I'm not gonna remember why, but it was wholly did not meet the criteria of the RFP.
It was one of the 6, but they weren't even close
Yeah.
as far as experience.
They didn't make it through even the basic recommendation process.
And then the last question is, what was included in the rubric to assess them?
Hold on, boy. There was a rubric to
It was-
assess them.
Yeah.
It's gonna take me a minute to dig that out of emails. find it, Dusty, quicker
I
than
was
me?
hoping that it was gonna be in there, hold on.
I know.
While they're looking for it, I just recall it was,
Experience, costs.
yeah, it was it's
Yep.
fairly extensive and broke out what you thought of not only their proposals, how they supported their proposals with previous, documentation. They had to provide, a list of clientele and their description of their approach.
Okay.
And the three that floated to the top it was
Oh, shoot.
pretty easy.
Here's, found Jim's recommendations, I didn't find the rubric, just a second. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Oh, shucky darn.
Here, I got it.
You got it? Should be in that folder. It's a good question. Okay. I have it, Dusty.
Yeah.
I've got it. Okay. So the first question was relevant experience, 1 through 5. The second question was approach and methodology. So relevant experience, the description is experience facilitating strategic retreats for public or nonprofit boards. The second was approach and methodology, clarity, creativity, and feasibility of proposed discovery, facilitation, and reporting methods. Sample report quality, quality and clarity of the submitted facilitation report. Cost proposal, reasonableness and transparency of fees relative to scope and value. References and past performance, strength and relevance of references and history of successful engagement, and team qualifications, bios and resumes of key personnel and their relevant skills. Some of those were weighted heavier, so relevant experience was the heaviest weighted at 25%. And then they were rated from 1 to 5. 1, poor quality, 5, professional, insightful, well-constructed.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple of comments. I think we should have done this like we asked several years ago now. This board has been made up of the same group now for a couple of years. I'm also a little concerned about whether what started out as a board retreat, which at least in my mind means one thing, and now we have a strategic planning session, which to me says something different, and we had come up with suggestions of what we wanted to talk about. So this seems to be a little bit different than what we originally thought we were going to do. And with 7 members of this board, 4 of us are trustees, but I don't see any trustees being included in the selection committee, and I'm disappointed in that.
The RFP included the items that were defined by the board as what we were hoping for the outcomes, so that information was captured. So, I mean, I guess strategic planner was, I mean, maybe that's an industry term, but I don't think there was any intent to not move forward with what the board had talked about previously as far as moving forward with our big ideas.
Yeah, we're also going to be working on our comprehensive plan. Are we going to have too many things going at once?
Well, I think how we move our comprehensive plan would be a part of that.
Okay.
So, and I guess that's my
That's
answer
fine.
to
Yeah,
that,
thank
trustee
you.
Sikora.
I make a motion to select Gams and Associates to facilitate the board retreat.
think you already did,
We
right?
did that? Did
You
we
did
vote
that,
on
and I
it?
seconded
We
it.
do,
yeah.
we entered into board questions, discussions, which is totally fine. Is there
Right,
any
'cause
other?
you seconded it, 'cause I.
Right,
now.
I think we did call Clerk Farmer, with the motion and support by trustee Ford. Is there any other questions on selecting the contractor? All right, at this time, we'll open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here wishing? Yeah, please, go ahead. Hi, Andrea.
Andrea, the retreat, is that open to the public? When is it gonna happen and where?
We don't know. It'll be, I'm anticipating the first quarter of 2023 to get started. And we haven't decided where possibly here in the meeting room or OCC, but all that will be shared and noticed.
Great.
As far as where we meet.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment on this item? All right, thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. 5 yeas with 1 nay and 1 absent. Okay. Next, we move to item 14. The new item 14, which is the memo regarding energy system zoning ordinance and text amendments, which was originally in the consent agenda and is now up for board discussion. This memo was prepared at request of trustee Sikora? Yeah, at trustee Sikora. And then, given the sensitivity and the timeliness, felt it reasonable to place it in the board packet so that the public could see the memo as well. And I think first, we'll open up the item, particularly the memo, which I believe is on page 5.
Yes.
Yeah, regarding the energy system zoning ordinance and text amendments. So is there anyone that wants to start board discussion on this item before we move to public comment?
I guess I was just hoping maybe Jim could give us a
Sure,
full-throated introduction to
sure.
the statute and what our role is as a township.
Sure. Let me begin by saying that I'm often troubled when legislation comes out of Lansing that basically takes local control away from local communities, cities, villages, townships. It often seems that it's townships that get treated the worst as far as preempting local control. I've only done this 40 years now, and the number of times that local control has been stripped away from local units is, I can't count the number. The last one that still causes me great consternation is when they enacted the state act that preempted local units from controlling where transmission lines would go in the community. And everybody knows about the ITC line and how that went. Even though this board opposed that and we took it all the way to the Michigan Supreme Court, unfortunately, we were summarily dismissed by the Supreme Court, and local units have little or no control over a number of items, gravel pits, transmission lines, a lot of other issues. When Public Act 233 was put in place, basically what the state legislature did, and I hope the public, and I know a lot of you people out there have studied it and you understand it, but for those that don't fully understand it, it basically places this community between a rock and a hard place. And I say that because Act 233 really, for all intents and purposes, preempts what this community can do effectively. Doesn't tell us what we can do or can't do. We can do anything we choose to do, but what would the effect be? Basically, under Act 233, when it comes to both wind, solar, or battery energy storage systems, renewable energy, if we did nothing, anyone wishing to place any of those major facilities in a community would simply go to the Michigan Public Service Commission. We could, as some people have recommended, develop a CREO, which is a compatible renewable energy ordinance. And that simply means it matches all of the requirements of Act 233, which means you get no more protection than you would if you went to the Public Service Commission. The other option is to do a workable ordinance, or a WEO, and I believe that's what your planning director is working on, is a WEO. A WEO is simply an ordinance that does what you can, within reason, to try to make an ordinance that wouldn't push a developer immediately to Lansing in the MPSC. So I believe that's what she's working on. The other option is to adopt an unworkable ordinance, which would restrict or, in essence, prohibit the development. The minute this community does that, in my opinion, what the energy companies will do is simply sidestep us, and they're allowed under state law, if they don't like your workable ordinance, or if you have an unworkable ordinance, they simply can apply at the MPSC, provide a public notice here, hold a public hearing, listen to the public, and totally ignore us at that point and go to Lansing. Given my experience before the MPSC on the ITC matter, I don't mean to be overly pessimistic, but I honestly think forcing a developer to go immediately to the MPSC is not necessarily the wisest thing to do, because they're part of the process of approving energy development in our state. Some people say they're rubber stamp. I guess I don't want to go that far, but I do think they tend to think along the lines of preparing and following the state law. And the reason I am concerned about the state law, and I've told some of our residents that I've met with, that the biggest concern I have with the legislative action is, people want us to do certain things, put a 2-mile barrier, put it in an industrial zone. Well, first of all, I don't think any of those things are even something an energy company would consider. I think they immediately would step over us and go to Lansing. And in addition to that, I don't think that's anything that we can impose under PA 233. The biggest concern I have about the legislation is, if you look to the legislation, you look at what the MPSC is supposed to consider in granting or denying a certificate. They have a long list of items. And one that seems something that we would all agree with is, the last criteria is that the proposed facility does not present an unreasonable threat to public health and safety. Well, when I read that, I say, that's great. They're going to consider public health and safety. However, this legislation goes further than almost anything I've seen in 40 years of experience. They then define what meets that standard for wind, for solar, and for battery energy storage. They define what meets public health and safety, and nothing in the state statute mentions zoning, which therefore, in my opinion, the state has determined zoning is not to be an issue. Could we adopt something that put zoning in our ordinance? Yes. Would it immediately be an unworkable ordinance? Yes. Would they immediately then go to Lansing? In my opinion, yes. And so unfortunately, I think this board is put in a terrible position in that I don't know how you protect your community when, for all intents and purposes, your authority has been either restricted, prohibited, preempted, whatever term you want to use. the state legislature has done this to everybody in our state. I've encouraged everybody that I've talked to, again, express your concerns to the planning commission, express your concerns to this board. But the real fight for local control isn't even here. The real fight for local control is in Lansing. If the state legislature doesn't change this law, I don't see a way of turning this around. A lot of people have mentioned the 70 units of government that got together to fight the planning commission's ruling or order. Here's the MPSC's order on how to handle renewable energy systems in this state. I think it's 185 pages long, and it basically did, in my opinion, sidestep the requirements under the Administrative Procedures Act. They didn't adopt rules the way that they should have. I agree with the group that, agree with the concept of the group that is challenging this, but the challenge of the order from the MPSC really doesn't change and will not change the law, I think, one bit. It will simply challenge the authority of the MPSC to impose this order and how they follow the law, which if they're successful, they'll simply go back and probably follow the Administrative Procedures Act and address some of the idiosyncrasies in this law that was poorly drafted, was pretty much a preemption of local authority. And I'm afraid that unless somebody changes something in Lansing, what this board can do to protect its citizens is greatly limited. And I don't mean to be a pessimist, but I believe that's where this board is at.
So, Jim, thanks for walking us through that. So what is the tool that you use for a thought process called if yes, then this way, if no, then that? What's that?
Decision tree?
Yeah, decision tree. And I had a conversation with Rich, our meeting communications person, to develop a decision tree. So if the township adopts a CREO, if yes, then these are options. If no, then these are options. And it's the same all the way through with the doing nothing, right? So doing nothing is an option.
Yes.
Adopting a CREO is an option.
Yep.
Adopting the WEO is an option. And, I mean, we haven't finished working through all of the options that we have, but none of them land in our favor with regard to providing any meaningful control around this issue.
Jim, if we made a CREO, who decides compatibility?
Well,
So if you get to a developer in a township, have a township claims CREO status,
and they say it's not a CREO,
then where do we go?
to Lansing.
To the,
That's the way I
to
envision
the
it.
to the same group that would cite them?
MPSC.
MPSC,
Yeah,
Michigan
okay.
Public Service
And
Commission.
then they would have some type of tribunal
you
over it?
Then they would have
We'll get there.
a determination. The other thing I want to caution you on as a board tonight is there's also a procedure for adopting ordinances under state law. And that requires that an ordinance of this type, because it's going to be in your zoning ordinance, goes to your planning commission. Your planning commission then makes a recommendation. What I wouldn't want you to do, even though you take public input, I wouldn't want this board then to make a determination tonight or even make public statements or prejudge what you will or won't do once that recommendation is
sure.
received.
Yeah.
That would be inappropriate under state law. You're to wait and determine. You have a citizens planning commission, planning director that will come here with a recommendation. They have heard from the citizens. They know the citizens are very concerned. But
I'm just trying to understand the mechanics of, I'm looking at the frequently asked questions from the state of Michigan about, for the effect of the local units. I just want to understand, like, who decides compatibility? Do you have to publish it and get referral back from the state?
Yeah, if there's a
You know?
dispute, basically it can end up at the MPSC.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
So,
Guess we haven't gotten that far, right? Like,
We haven't, and I think that the planning commission will work through some of the issues that you'll hear about tonight as to
Okay.
how do we draft the ordinance. You're gonna have a wide difference of opinion.
sure.
I've heard everything from do nothing to draft an unworkable ordinance, and I wish I had a crystal ball as to what's best. I can tell you that Michigan State and the University of Michigan, when they published their recommendations, I believe they recommended trying to draft a wheel, trying to draft a workable ordinance, at least to engage the developer in a discussion.
I'd be curious to see how Jody and the planning commission come to that determination on
And it
what's
is,
something that they consider workable versus something that would be like a turn and run to Lansing for a developer.
it's a balance, and I
It
think
is,
Jody's
it's an
doing-
interesting
will do-
problem.
I trust her to do the best that she can.
Hey, Jim, can you just, for me and maybe for people out there that don't know, because I have done some research on this, and I know it's relatively new, because I guess we used to source our batteries from Asia, and now this is gonna be something that we're gonna be seeing all across the country. So maybe there isn't really a historic precedent set yet, but is there anything historically with municipalities or townships that have faced this, which obviously they have successfully deterred developers from putting these parks in their,
From a legal
municipality.
standpoint, I did research, there's nothing that's gone to the Court of Appeals level. I do not have the ability to research circuit court decisions.
I mean,
I
not even
couldn't
having it gone through the court yet. I'm just saying, just
I
historically, they.
Googled it and I can't find anything in Michigan. And see, the problem looking outside of Michigan is, I don't know what their statutory provisions are, what their requirements are, whether they have more strict regulations, better state statute, better control of this. I can tell you, I'm not,
There's gotta be within Michigan, some municipalities that have drafted, that have done one of these things, either a CREO, a WEO.
There's
And
several.
have-
yeah,
that have done that.
there's some, there are a lot of units that have
Is it-
just said no. They've done an unworkable ordinance. There's units that have done CREOs. There are a number of units that have done WEOs.
So do
Michigan
we-
Townships Association, which is a group that I used to represent for 10 or 15 years, they've drafted WEOs. Your planner's looking at all of that. The question is, have any of those been challenged, or have any of those been shown to be successful?
Right.
Not that I could find on Google, not that I could find through my legal research.
But it may just be that they haven't actually had a developer to actually challenge it, right?
It's possible.
Okay.
Or that it hasn't worked its way up. As far as the statute itself, am I troubled by the limited nature of restrictions that they place on these facilities? And am I troubled by the fact they treat wind, solar, and a battery energy storage system
the
almost
same.
identically the same? I don't understand that, and I don't understand it.
There was a conference this summer MPSC was at, and I was at, and as of August, none have been overridden. As of August, when I was at the conference, I think it was August, they have not overridden anybody yet. So there isn't, as Jim's saying, there's not really a case law to show where they have yet, so we don't know how it would be handled.
I mean, do we even know from the developer's point of view, like what would be an attractive, like what would make them want to pick a particular location? You know what I mean? I can understand.
Oh, I can tell,
It's-
I
I mean-
have heard.
I'm gonna
I
say
have
the
heard
fact that they started signing leases 2 years ago, like, they definitely know it's attractive to them. I mean, so,
So how do we make ourselves unattractive to them? I guess is
well,
the
and that's
question.
the thing is, you know, the options that we have, the CREO, the WEO, the do nothing, you know, all of them result, if they don't like what our planning commission presents and the board adopts, they skip right over us and go to Lansing.
But if we do the CREO or the WEO, they have to start with us, correct? For both of those?
They-
They have to
They
start with
do,
us.
yeah.
They have to come in here for CREO. They do not have to come for WEO.
Oh.
So what would be the advantage of the WEO over the CREO
The
then?
well, do they want to go through the hassle of going to the MPSC in Lansing? It's not an easy process. It's a difficult process. They might want to work with the local unit to determine if there's a way to obtain approval locally as opposed to going straight to Lansing.
But you could adopt a WEO, an entity could adopt a WEO that is so challenging that,
They would discourage,
Well, discourage them from coming here, but maybe encouraging them to go to Lansing. That's the
Lansing.
balance. That's the struggle with all of this, is
Right.
even if you put the toughest restrictions in place that you want,
Reasonable is the key.
the answer is they can still ignore us, because the state has technically cut us off at the knees and told us that they can go around us. I've heard suggestions about zoning and going to industrial zones. I heard that at the planning commission. The problem is, if you look at the zoning map over there, a lot of our industrial land is located where we have sewer and water and power, and it's probably closer to many of our maybe more of our residents than even some of the outlying areas. I'm frustrated. I hope you can understand that this is not the kind of legal information you want to provide to a board.
So I have a different issue. My issue is the timing. I'm very concerned that we don't have something, we haven't even started discussion on planning commission, and we are running out of time. We are very much running out of time, because I think if we keep delaying this, we're gonna have a situation where we have nothing in place and they go right to the MPSC and we get nothing. And so, I sent out a draft to try to start a conversation, but the planning commission hasn't even had a conversation about this. And I'm very, very frustrated that we're not putting urgency to this, because I think that we're gonna get ourselves in a situation where we know this is coming. And if we don't do anything, we're gonna be stuck with it.
Well,
And-
wait though, nothing. Even this memo indicates that a draft ordinance would be before the planning commission in December or January. That is urgency. That's
The
not
letter-
slow, that's fast.
So in my opinion, though, when I look at this letter, it says that it was delayed because of other things, and I think that this is an important thing that shouldn't have been delayed. And I think that having them come to speak to us when we didn't even have anything in place, it was in my opinion, a terrible decision. Because I think that we really need to put a lot of emphasis on this, because we knew it was coming. When this happened, we knew that something was coming, and we should have at least started a conversation. The simple conversation of things that we would want included, things that we would not want included. Having that conversation, or even educating us on it, would have been helpful. We've all had to go off and get through different means like this, the education on it, and I think we could have handled it a little better.
So it is not uncommon for different projects to request to come before the planning commission before they're even, so I think that the planning director, when she received the call from Next Gen and invited them to present to the planning commission, that the intent of that was to provide that step of public education. They'd already signed a lease, Michael. I mean,
I
there's
know.
no application. I mean, so, I appreciate, but I think we are trying to fast track this as much as possible, in understanding our options and, You know, where do we, I mean, the questions I have are, I mean, I know I called our legislators before this bill was adopted and asked them to vote no. And, you know, the timing about whether or not we entered into that lawsuit, that didn't, and I watched the meeting minutes that were posted, or the meeting that was posted as well. I mean, it wasn't, the resolution was not in alignment of the thoughts of this board. So it's not like it's been laying moot for months and months and months. And we do try to prioritize each item that comes before the board or the planning commission amongst many other things that have priority. So I hear what you're saying, and I think we are trying to fast track this and put public information out. I, for one, appreciate the information that's been put out by the parties that are providing and organizing around this issue, because they're putting out a lot of good information. And so, you know, I would rather view this as trying to do the best that we can for the community and make the best decisions that we can make in more of a partnership than adversarial. But I also, I mean, so how did ITC, these are questions I asked myself, right? So I was around, I think I was a trustee when the ITC issue was being, I might even been planning commission before a trustee, that the ITC issue was taken up by the township as legal action. And so when I'm sitting and evaluating through the decision tree, which is the word I forgot, but it's a good one, like, at what point in that litigation, and they're not apples and oranges, they're related. They're both related to public utility infrastructure and electricity, you know, providing stable electricity. So they're not the same kind of apple, but they're pretty close. And so at what point, what was the tipping point that the township board decided we're gonna take this to court? I mean, I think that's the stuff that I'm hoping when Jim digs into this and, you know, we have to decide, we do nothing, we do a WEO, we do a CREO, and then, you know, but at what point are we gonna stand up and say, Lansing is wrong and we're gonna fight you on this? And that, I think, is the bigger picture for our community and the other communities that were robbed of local control on this issue.
But I think the concern I have is when the group came before the planning commission, no materials were provided of a neutral nature. The only information we had was from the industry attempting to do that. And that's a very one-sided, and I get concerned that it's a very biased approach, and it's not necessarily true education on a subject. It's more of an advertisement. And when something like that is coming before a board, I would like to see more than just the applicant's viewpoint. With this one in particular, there's a lot of public material that was available. You know, like I've, sent out to others here, the Graham's Sustainability Institute through the University of Michigan has a lot of information that would have allowed for a somewhat neutral approach on educating ourselves on it, instead of what I perceived as a bias education. So that rubbed me wrong. And, if we're gonna invite somebody or allow somebody, there should also be preparation to provide full information, because the people who are on the planning commission, myself included, we don't have all the information or knowledge and didn't necessarily know where to get it. Luckily, I was able to ask a few questions at that time because I had gone to that conference. But without that, I wouldn't have even known how to ask a question. When this came up before this, I made a mistake and thought that this was more about solar, wind, and did not necessarily know or understand battery electric until I went to that conference. And so it's a complex issue, but I just don't think that the initial education that the planning commission received was fair and unbiased. And so that's the other concern I have.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that, because when I first heard about it and that this was becoming more of an issue, I thought, well, people are coming to township board meetings and talking about this. This is a serious concern. Why doesn't the board have any information about what's going on with this? It's clearly an issue, who's paying attention? And when I shared that with trustee Chapman, he said that he had sent information from his class around. Didn't you get that? And I'm like, no, I didn't get any information from your class. I don't know why it wasn't distributed to the board. So I think there's, the issue, the big issue of the energy storage systems, but I think we also have a breakdown here of not sharing information with all members of the board and we're not recognizing what are some of our residents' concerns. And I don't think we're reacting or proactively acting in a timely manner. And I think that is one of the issues of why I specifically asked for this to be on the agenda and have us brought up to date, because you can't have a room full of people here all on one topic and we're sitting here with no ideas, no idea what's going on or what their concerns are. We need to address those. And I think we're not doing the job we should be as a township board. Some of it's, administratively, that maybe we need to be kept more up to date of what some of the departments are doing or what they think is important, and get our feedback of what the board thinks should be the important items that they're working on. But I think we need to work on that, and I agree. I was disappointed the way this has come up.
Is there any other board discussion?
I just have one more question for Jim.
Yep.
So if we, well, I have two questions. So it starts in the planning commission, whether it's a WIO or a CREO? Is that a planning commission
Yeah.
decision before it comes back to the board?
Yes, under state law, because it's going to be a zoning ordinance, that starts with your planning commission.
Okay.
And so my recommendation is that you not necessarily take a position until you've heard from your planning commission. You're supposed to get a recommendation from them. You can accept that recommendation, you can reject that recommendation. That will ultimately be up to you when it's received.
Okay.
But you should follow the process for zoning amendments, which we have a planning commission. I recommend you follow that provision of state law and get their recommendation. It
And
doesn't
their
mean they-
recommendation, I guess they need more information, right? to make
Yes, they
a
will have,
decision,
they're
so-
gonna have to come up to speed. They'll get a recommendation from the planning director as to which direction to go. They will have to discuss that at length, take public comment, make a decision, make a recommendation to this board.
And in the meantime, are you able to look into any, I guess, at least in the state of Michigan, what other municipalities that are further along in this situation, I guess what the outcomes have been, so that you can provide that information to the planning commission, so they
We'll-
can make a more informed choice, I guess?
We will do everything that we
Or-
can to
or
provide this
advisement.
board with as much information, and the planning commission and the public with as much information as we have available, yes.
And one more question. Let's say they, after getting all of the input, that they go with a WIO. Can you change from a WIO to a CREO? I mean, are you able to change that later? Or
Oh, you could change
once
it.
you make the decision and the board accepts it,
You
are
could-
we stuck with that?
You're not necessarily stuck with the ordinance. However, if somebody files an application under an existing ordinance, you're bound by that ordinance.
With that
With that
particular
particular
person?
applicant. Can
Okay.
you change it after that, or before someone applied? Could you change a WIO to a CREO? You could. Could you change a WIO to an unworkable ordinance? Again, the planning commission and this township board, you have the authority to take whatever approach you feel is best for the
Does the
community.
township board have the authority, let's say, because I do feel like this is going to be kind of a work in progress, because this is such a new thing. So we're hoping that they get enough information to make the correct, I guess,
Remember that the planning commission recommendation will merely be a recommendation to the board.
Right,
So
but we're
that-
relying on their recommendation outside of our own.
I mean, yeah, we will accept their recommendation, but that doesn't mean that we have to accept their recommendation. We
Right.
can send it back to
Okay, and that,
have them chew on it some more, or.
and what I'm asking though is, let's say that we do accept their recommendation. And then, do we then, as a board, have the authority to say, we don't think this is working, we want them to go back and look at other alternatives?
Oh, you mean like after?
Like after, I mean,
it's
obviously, I
passed
understand that
down the road.
whoever the applicant is, under whatever ordinance or whatever we decide.
Absolutely, if.
We could always recommend
Again, if
that
a new
they-
issue comes up, if in fact the group of 70 is successful in somehow getting the state to reconsider how they adopted their regulations, because again, I don't think they did it in accordance with the Administrative
Yeah.
Procedures Act, and that could affect how you handle one of these. So yes, you can always go back and rework it. You're never locked into any ordinance. You can always change an ordinance. If facts and circumstances or the law or a court ruling changes things, you absolutely have the
Change.
authority to change.
But it goes back, it's our authority to say to the planning commission, go back and
Correct.
do it again. Okay.
Yep.
We could even amend their recommendation, correct?
After first sending it back. You have to
Oh,
send it back.
we have to send it back
Yeah,
at least once?
You cannot
Okay.
change the planning commission's initial recommendation
Okay.
without sending it back, asking for changes. And then when it comes back, you have the authority to, this board reserved to itself, unlike some communities, the planning commission is not the final authority. The final authority on any ordinance, including zoning, is the township board.
Thank you. So I think it'll be even more important, like Neil said, that the information flows from the planning commission to the board members as it's in progress.
All right, any other board discussion? It's currently 7:20. And I am going to open this item up for public comment. But I do want to take perhaps a 5-minute bathroom break, a stretch break. So, and I guess if more than just me have to use the restroom, it might take, so why don't we reconvene at 7:30? This meeting is adjourned. All right, folks, we're going to get this show back on the road here. All right, it's 7:30. John, you and Kenji, we're ready to go. See, the board is reconvened. I will call this meeting back to order. And at this time, going to open up for public comment regarding agenda item 14, I believe. Agenda item 14. As a reminder, each individual has an opportunity for 4 minutes of public comment. Public comment is public comment. It's just your personal comments to the board. It is not a back and forth deliberation. And then I just want to remind the board members, as we move through this opportunity for public comment, that you should not be taking any positions or making any statements that could, in the future, interfere with the decisions of the Planning Commission. That would be inappropriate. At this time, I will call public comment. You have 4 minutes. And if you, it's not required, but if you would provide your name and your address, it's very helpful for us to know who's here as concerned citizens and also concerned citizens as residents. So at this time, the podium's open.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Bruce Goethe. I live on M Avenue, downwind, as I know now. 9775 West M Avenue. We've owned that property for 25 years, lived there for 23 years. So I have some questions that now I know that you don't need to answer, but it used to be in the Oshtemo master plan that there was it was expressed in writing that we wanted to preserve the rural character of the western part of the township. I don't know if that's still there. I was involved with the power line project because the power line goes right down M Avenue across the street from us in my neighbors' backyards. And I know that the township was opposed to it, and I know Mr. Porter put a lot of effort into it to support the residents. And ITC could take it, they could seize it by eminent domain if they wanted. So that was, and I will, before the meeting started, I wrote down that the Michigan Public Service Commission is a rubber stamp, so that we differ on that, and Mr. Porter didn't want to go that far. I'm embarrassed that I'm just finding out about this. I'm embarrassed that I saw it on Channel 3, like, what? That's not happening here. And here we go. It is. So I was a 492nd member to join the Facebook group today. So you have the power. I'm also a little bit disgusted to think that it was on the February agenda, the Planning Commission, and you call that fast. There was a long agenda in the memo, so we didn't get to it. We might put it on the agenda for December or January. That is disgusting. It's urgent, like you're saying. You guys have the power. You can stay silent if you want. You have the power to ignore it. You have the power to not inform the residents like me. I live down the street. I'm downwind. What's going on? Why don't I know about this? Or you can be a squeaky wheel. You can at least inform us, put it in your newsletter. I really don't understand why I don't know about this. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Katie Schneider. The Van Cal Battery Energy Storage Project isn't across the road from us, tucked behind the power station. Rather, it borders the property line of our pumpkin and organic produce fields, the very heart of our farm to the south. Over the past year, I've become a regular at the Oshtemo Planning and Board meetings. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. After this board enacted an ordinance that limited our farm's ability to build a proper barn on our own 29 acres, my husband and I decided to start paying closer attention. And what I've seen since then has been deeply disappointing, not just to me, but to dozens of residents who've shared their stories and frustrations with me since then.
What I've witnessed personally is a board that routinely fails to uphold its own core values of transparency, integrity, professionalism, and public service. I've watched as the planning director brought forward items under miscellaneous or tacked other items onto other items on the agenda already, conveniently, while many did not attend because those items weren't on the agenda. The early public discussions about the BEST project in August was presented as just educational, while behind the scenes, multiple meetings with developers and even our fire department had already taken place in June. Don't even get me started on the illegal assessing of ag land in Oshtemo as well. After speaking out at 4 Oshtemo meetings against BEST, I wondered if I was wrong, if I had misheard. When I came to the township office to request more information, I was told there was nothing else to share. Hoping I was mistaken, I contacted the landowner, who confirmed there was already a lease for the battery project next door to us. We pulled the land record and found that lease had been filed with the county clerk back in December of 2023. A FOIA request then confirmed what many had suspected. This township knew about the project and its details months before residents were told a thing. Even today, you will hear that as speculation. That's not transparency. That's not integrity. Residents are met with blank stares, dismissive responses, and excuses. We've even caught misstatements to the press about what was known, and the FOIA documents certainly show otherwise. When my neighbors and I met with the planning director, Jody Staforia, and the township attorney on October 20th, we learned that Jody had asked developers not to disclose project details or the location. And reviewed emails between her and the developers showed that she repeatedly told them their Van Cal neighbor had spoken out again. How does that align with professionalism or public service? To make matters worse, several members of this board publicly supported PA 233 back in December, the legislation that stripped away local control over large-scale energy projects, power that should have been in the hands of the people of Oshtemo. Supporting that law directly undermines your duty to represent and protect your own residents. And ironically, together, residents have collected over 200 signatures to help get House Bill 4027 and 4028 passed to get the power back to local governments, whether they want it or not, I guess. The residents of Oshtemo and others in possible BEST fire evacuations have done our research. We formed neighborhood groups, filed FOIA requests, and spoken out here and also in front of the MPSC last night. Not because we enjoy confrontation, but because of our local government. The BEST project may not be slated to break ground until 2028, but accountability starts tonight. That's also the year that all of you will be on the ballot again. In 2028, this township will have the chance to choose a new direction, one grounded in honesty, accountability, and transparency. And I do plan to be on that ballot to help lead Oshtemo back to the values it promises and the residents it serves, because Oshtemo can do better, and together we will.
Next.
Gary DeBryan. I was very happy to hear that the board recognizes, or some of you recognize, that in terms of clean energy projects, a large-scale battery storage system is nothing like a solar panel or a wind turbine. When they fail, nothing happens. When a large-scale battery storage system fails, it is a nightmare, both from a safety standpoint and from an environmental standpoint. And here's why. These systems have only been around for about 10 years, and significant challenges still exist with lithium-ion technology. Battery storage system fires and explosions are reported every year since 2018, resulting in injuries, death, and environmental issues. You need to take a look at the Electric Power Research Institute's large-scale battery facility incidents database. It's worldwide. They're going everywhere. Large-scale battery storage system technology is prone to thermal runaway and results in an explosion and fire. That fire cannot be put out with water. That fire will emit toxic fumes for as long as it burns, and it may burn for days. If you have any questions about that, look at the Moss Landing batteries fire in California. It's horrendous. If that should happen, we should have a fire, there is not an evacuation plan on earth that is going to save the people living next to it. You don't have to believe me. Just do the research. Please, do the research. This is not something we want in Oshtemo Township. Whatever you do for the ordinances and the plans that you have, it cannot allow large-scale battery storage systems in this township. One last thing. I understand, if you say no to it, it goes up to the MPSC. That's fine. Send it there. I would feel better that you guys are standing there watching our backs rather than saying, oh, follow these rules and then put it in. We'd rather take the fight to the state.
My name's Dwayne Hampton. I spent a few hours on Sunday going around where I live on Blue Jay Avenue in the Hidden Pond subdivision. Every single household I went to where the adults were home, they gladly signed against this taking place so close to our neighborhood. As we know, there's been 150 major fires that cannot be put out, and they put cyanide in the air, and the ground underneath them can never be used to plant anything, not even grass, ever again, if you look into it. And so I was really tickled to find out how many people in our neighborhood were tickled to death to sign this petition, and I still got some days to still go ahead and do it. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for taking the time to listen to us this evening. My name is Faith Butcher. I'm a resident of Hidden Pond, and I believe I am less than 1,000 yards away from our new ground zero. We have quite a spider web to entangle from the sounds of things. We're no strangers with regards to having to deal with the Power Commission in Lansing. 2 years ago, we had to take our fight there from them, from consumers putting in 23 miles of power lines through Van Buren County. As of today, we're still kind of wondering, is there any application or permit on file by this New Edge Power Battery Company? Is there anything on paper as far as a permit, an application, or anything? Or are they just kind of fishing to see if they can get through?
It's not a back and forth dialogue by the board.
Okay.
The memo stands.
So, okay, we'll find out on our own then. And we urge you to please adopt some kind of a workable ordinance so we don't have to keep fighting battles, big companies coming in that don't have our best interests at heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just as follow-up to that it's not a back and forth, as Supervisor Bell reminded everyone. But I did fulfill two FOIA requests regarding information from New Edge, and just in that time, there is no permit on file or anything that has been filed for a project by New Edge.
Thank you.
I didn't want to, thank you for doing that. I didn't want to wait till the end.
All
So
right.
please move forward. Go ahead.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Amy Howell. I just found out about this 2 days ago from a Facebook, which is, in my opinion, a gross dereliction of duty on your behalf. The fact that a single one of you said, ooh, can we do nothing, is absurd. We cannot have this here. The prevailing wind, I live a half mile from there. The prevailing wind in that area is due west, as you said. You know what's 4 miles, or just over 4 miles east of this? Prairie View Elementary. My kids' daycare, downtown Oshtemo. You have 15 minutes before they are breathing toxic smoke. If you thought a flood in Texas with 20 kids getting swept away was bad, wait until an entire elementary school ends up with some medical complication from a battery fire that happens that you can't control. We don't have the facilities to address a meltdown here. It is 10 minutes from downtown Matawan to get to that area if they can control it in time. That is absolutely absurd that this even made it this far, that this was on the docket in February, and we are just hearing about it now, just having discussions about it, that you guys don't know. They had to file paperwork to get lights in their parking lot. And you're telling me that there's a lease on this area now? And they've been fishing since February of 23 or sometime in 2023? We're just now hearing about it. That is absurd. You are meant and elected to represent your constituents, and not a single person in this room or in the county, if they knew, would support this. So kind of shame on you. Shame on you. I gotta go home.
I'm Danita DeBryan. We live on L Avenue, and our property adjoins this farm as well. I've made so many speeches in the last few nights, I don't really know what to follow anymore. Last night, we were up at the Michigan Public Service Commission, and they seemed to be very interested in what we had to say. They wrote notes constantly and listened to everybody's discussion, all the way from the new data centers they're putting in to the best facilities. It was heartwarming in a way to see them look at us and really kind of think about what we were saying, that these are not the same things as a wind turbine that you can turn off if the birds are migrating, or a solar system, if a panel breaks, you just get the repairman in, but you can turn them off. These you can't. They cannot be under the same rules and regulations. So I agree with everyone here. Yeah, it's between a rock and a hard place. And we've heard about 233 so much. We've made petitions for that, and hope you all will sign them because you're part of this community. It's very difficult to think, well, if we make it this hard, we want to make it no. We want to say no, not in our residential area. We'll go to the MSPC and just confront them then. At least we'll go the next step. But to just make it just a little bit harder for some random company who hardly has any experience to come in and put this dangerous, I mean, it ruins our property values, it's our health, it's our future. You can't say yes to that in any way. We have to fight it all the way and take it to the Supreme Court if we have to. We can't say yes. It's not a good situation under any credible ordinance that they would say, okay, we can build it under those restrictions. No, we don't want it. We have to say no. Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else wishing to make public comment? Yeah, please.
You know, I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time because nobody can reflect and tell us what, give us feedback right now. But multiple board members had no problem giving feedback when this energy company showed up out of nowhere to present to you. Here's Zach. I just feel like I'm not concerned about this personally because I believe that the state legislature is trying to accomplish what's best in the interest of everybody in the state and in the nation. And it doesn't affect me personally. I'm leaning away from wanting to publicly support the folks filing the appeal against Michigan Public Service Commission here. I don't understand how it benefits us, Zach. So, I think I'm fully in support of PA 233, completely in support of that, because newbies, not in my backyard, us, and more, they always show up in numbers to complain. Mike. Trustee Neil Sikora then went on to offer a blanket statement of endorsement of PA 233, and Trustee Neal's comments did not give any discussion about the local impacts. PA 233 already limits how much control local government can have on large-scale energy projects. When the majority of the Oshtemo board members completely supported it, that is a shift in power, and it dismisses residents' concerns. It signaled a potential loss to us about the balance of future decision-making. You took that away from us. You should have kept your mouth shut. Here's what I'm telling you. You can either fight for us, or what I'm gonna do on November 20th is I'm gonna file my intent to remove you, and to remove you. Because if you had no problem talking to them, you better get yourself together, because you work for us. We're not your customers. You are a public servant, and if you can't figure that out, what that means to us who elected you, we will get people in place who can.
My name is Mike Boros. This is my first time attending this meeting. I just found out about this not quite a week ago. One thing I've observed with listening to you all in your meeting, you talk about rubber stamps. It sounds like you guys are a rubber stamp, as long as it has a dollar sign after it. Second thing, it sounds like from all the planning I've heard, you guys haven't done really a good job of planning anything, because we underestimated, we made mistakes, we didn't do this, we didn't do that, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. Sounds like you're not capable of doing your job you've been elected to do. Now, what I'm asking you guys is do the right thing. If you're not capable of doing that, then listen to your residents and listen to what we're asking for to fight for. We're not up here saying, hey, this is something we don't want. This is our backyards. I'm right next to this. When we moved into Oshtemo, we moved in for the beauty of the trees. You talk about beautifying Oshtemo. That's trees. That's not buildings, it's batteries. I'm not sure what your definition of beautifying is. You talk about a trail system. But then you turn around and say, well, we can put this over here. It doesn't impact me, so what do I care? But comes money. I know what my tax bill looks like every month. I think it's well heard. So you're telling me this is going to increase our property values, are you? I don't think it is. I think it's going to lower our values of our home, put our kids in danger. This is serious. This is not a game. Stop playing politics. We want you to do what you've been elected to do, and that's represent us, the people, not your own agenda. I'm done.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. My name is Hiram. I'm a resident in the Toscana residence neighborhood. Many of my neighbors are here. Forgive my informal clothes for the moment. Ann had asked me to come right from work. I didn't know that this was here today. I was here last week on this just to kind of listen and understand. Real quick background. 2014, I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I get a call from my facility that my facility's on fire. We go to the facility, and as I'm going there, the fire marshals, they want to get into the vault where we have all of our finished goods inventory, and there's probably around 50,000 iPhones at the time. I have a large-scale refurbishment business in Dallas, Texas, and around the time of iPhone 5 is when we really got to massive scale. You guys probably all have 16s, 17s, 15s. The battery size is much larger. At that period of time, the largest thing that destroyed our inventory, getting us almost an $8 million insurance claim, was the rapid acceleration of the batteries once they caught fire in all of those devices. The footprint of that inventory was somewhere between here and that table, no higher than maybe 6 feet. The concentration of that, much smaller in form, but actually very combustible when concentrated. So I was interested to hear from, excuse me, Katie, right there. And this is, my neighbors don't even know this about me, actually. They don't know of my refurbishment business or my scale. And the next part I'll share real quickly, probably not as well. Because in my neighborhood, when I get home, I have a 9-year-old daughter, I have a 5-year-old boy, I have a 15-month-old baby, and I drive the neighborhood in my golf cart. And we were going to buy a pumpkin in a local farm, and that's when I learned from Katie that as we were buying the pumpkin, that this was right in our neighborhood. So it made me quite concerned. In my home, my kids, we recycle AAA batteries, AA batteries, 9-volt batteries, our smoke detectors, all of it, because my business in Texas is certified by ISO 9001, 18001, OSAS 18001, 14001, and another mandate called responsible recycling, which allows us and requires us as certified downstream partners to Dell and HP to account for every piece of electronic equipment that they provide us and that it doesn't end up in the landfill. That sort of custody is because the products in that world are pretty intense. Not only data, but also the lithium ion from the battery form factor. That business still runs today. We refurbish for Amazon, and we do north of 20,000 devices a month. The footprint of the iPad battery and laptop battery is much bigger. The number one thing we do every single year in our certification renewals, it's built around lithium-ion batteries. The number one thing in our facility that causes the greatest pain point is lithium-ion. I have 7 staff members, unfortunately, that in the course of the last 4 years have lost between 1 to 4 fingers from dealing and handling the recycled batteries, because when they catch fire, they burn at a rate that is super fast, super intense. I've seen it. I've held a team member's hand while it was a result of this burning.
You have approximately 30 seconds.
Thank you. I have the largest cannabis brand here in the state of Michigan, Mitten Extracts. We produce over 1 million devices a month. Lithium-ion batteries inside of this. I've dealt with 17 townships here in the state, so I understand the protocol. We have a recycling program for this battery that's this small, and we're treating it as sensitive as we can because of the environment. Because at the end of the day, guys, our mission is to advance the quality of all residents through a commitment to responsible growth and value-driven municipal services that promote the relationship among economic vitality, environmental stewardship, and social equity. This is your guys' board charter on your webpage. I
Time.
find it very interesting we
sir.
could get this far. Well, that's the mandate that governs you guys. Please think about that, adapt what we can, and at least, whether we're handcuffed by Lansing, let's fight it and show the people that this board cares about its residents.
Hello.
Good evening. My name is Rob Morrison. I live on Green Meadow Road, so I'm on the eastern edge of Oshtemo Township. And I recently moved here a few months ago, so a lot of this is very new to me, and I found about this last weekend. So while I'm still doing research on it, it's pretty clear that this project is really just not acceptable for the township and must be fought at every level by the community and by the board. And I think you've heard that already. I looked at the master plan back from 2017, and it said that the western half, the majority of the western half of the township is really for rural residential use. I've been out there. I don't live near it, but it's still going to affect me. And I think it's important you hear from people who may not be right there in the neighborhood that this is a township, this is a local issue, not just for people who have to live near that. And I just think that this is not acceptable. It also, PA 233, that's new to me, but that's clearly an attempt to usurp local control, and so that also has to be changed. So I think there are many avenues for us to fight on this. But I've been paying more attention to data centers and seeing what kind of dangers they supply, and I was concerned that there would be a data center attempt here in the township. Now I see that it's a battery storage area first, but this could open the door for data centers. And if projects of this scale start coming into the township, it's going to put everybody at risk and those around us as well. We already have to deal with data centers coming into the state of Michigan, some of them very close. So I ask you to oppose this as best you can, because I think that's really what you're hearing tonight. Thank you.
Last week was my first time to the meeting. All my neighbors are here, and they've all spoke. You know, I was completely embarrassed last week because I didn't know about this. I had to get a text from one of my neighbors that told me what was going on. I'm not as embarrassed anymore because I'm not alone, obviously. And I think there's a lot of people that still don't know. And I've been calling everybody I can today and letting them know, because I don't think we understand. And I think some of you are figuring out the ramifications of all this if it does happen, and how it's going to affect not just people in this room, but Oshtemo in general, which obviously, and I don't understand this 4-minute, we can't talk back and forth. I don't understand all that. We're all adults. I think we should all be able to have conversation. I appreciated you guys speaking up and saying that, hey, maybe we dropped the ball on this a little bit. Maybe we should move a little faster on this, because you should. This is important for all of our families and all of your families. I don't know where you live. I said that last week. I don't. I could look it up. It's public. But if you guys care about this community and this township, like you say you will, we'll get this fixed and not let this come into our community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Katie. I am here also, you know, it is an issue to have this be like a closed discussion where you guys cannot talk back and forth. I would love to understand if we have done some environmental impacts on what would happen if this facility caught on fire. Maybe that's the planning committees, whatever they're called, planning committees job. But I don't think our firefighters are trained for this. I don't think that they are prepared to take on something like this. I don't think that they want to. I don't think they want to be put into a toxic situation like that. What happens if they do use water on this? My understanding, again, I'm just finding out about this, so I haven't had a ton of time to research it, but if they do use water to try and put out these fires, which I don't think would work, but let's just say they do, what happens to that water? Because I think that water would then become toxic. So then would we have to recollect that water? I would think you would have to then clean it somehow and dispose of it correctly. Who's paying for all of that? Is this next gen company paying for all of that? Or is that something that we have to pay for? I would love to understand that. So I'd love to understand where we go to get these kind of questions answered. I also think that I've heard, again, I'm just new to this, unfortunately, but I've heard that other townships, maybe Madawan, has been fighting this, and they have said no. And so I don't understand why we're taking a stance that we're in a rock and a hard spot. You know, we're just going to have to make it easy, and so we don't have to cause ripples. I'm not saying that maybe that's how all of you feel, but that can be a little bit of a takeaway from tonight's conversation. And my encouragement to all of you is to make our township, as Kristen was saying earlier, as unappealing to this company as possible. Whether it's through the CREO, a WEO, a non-WEO, whatever, I don't know. Whatever it is, make it as unappealing as possible. And if this company wants to take it up to Lansing, then let them do it. And we can fight that as much as we can. If we have to go to the Supreme Court, maybe we will lose, but at least we will know that you had our backs. We will know that you care about the residents here and about your community. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, my name's John Paver. I'm from Comstock. And so we've been dealing with the best station now since 2019, actually. So we recently turned over some of the board positions at Comstock, and it came to light that this was already being worked on through closed doors meetings. Don't have closed door meetings, always have open ones. But we have been fighting back against the best station, and we have a moratorium on it since the beginning of this year. The good news is that regardless of whether or not you have a CREO or anything, they still have to go to the MPSC. And even before they go the MPSC will tell them that they have to file an intent to file to the township or the city back to them. That is a 60-day notice before the intent to actually file goes to the MPSC. That's 60 days that they have. Then they have to pay a $75,000 application fee to the MPSC. Then, once that's done, then they have to put $150,000 into an escrow account. And then what you can do from there is that can be used for consulting, that can be used for experts. Go grab the furthest expert you can, Europe, wherever, bring them in. That gives you another 160 to 270 days. Because then once it goes to the MPSC, even if the MPSC says, yes, great, you have a case, great, it goes up, the MPSC then will hold a public hearing, and that will take 180 to 270 days. You can give yourself 6 to 12 months by simply just following the MPSC rules. 233, it's in there. So it's not as doom and gloom as it is. You have a lot of tools. You can sit there and do exactly what ComStock does, which is put a moratorium on it. You can look at the docket. Jim, I encourage you to look at the docket. As of now, no developer has actually gone to the MPSC. There are only 3 that are on the e-docket right now, and all of them are solar farms or wind. Nobody has done it because it's so arduous and a 6-month thing, and a 6 to 12-month thing. And right now, everybody's racing to get these things as fast as possible. Unfortunately, there is a data center coming. I met with a developer who's trying to put one in Pavilion Township on N Avenue. As of now, thanks to us fighting back, I met with the developer this morning at Water Street, and they are putting it on hold. This is what these BESS stations are designed for. They are not designed to alleviate the grid in any sort of idea. The BESS stations are designed to purchase the energy during off-peak times, store them, then when the data centers, because data centers need continuous running, at least 99.99% online capacity per various regulations. And so for them to do that, what they will do is then go to the BESS station and they will go, hey, I'd like to buy your cheap discounted rate that Consumers Energy gave you. Can you do that? Yes, we'll sell it to you. So the data center will come in and negotiate lower rates. The BESS station will come in and lower negotiated rates. And then the arbitrage there is where the BESS station will make their money. The company that has come for the BESS station is from Denmark, Copenhagen. These are people who are here to make a profit. They have no intent to better the grid. It has nothing to do with that. Like I said, we've been doing this for 2 years now. You can put a moratorium on it. I'll be at the Main Street Pub, Matawan, this Thursday, 6 p.m. if anybody wants to learn more or do anything. Unfortunately, I've been spending an inordinate amount of time doing this and organizing. We have a Facebook group as well. But all is not lost. There is a lot of avenues. Even if you don't do anything, it doesn't matter. I would encourage you to do what ComStock is doing, which
30 seconds.
2,000 feet away from it. Where it's proposed right now in Comstock is less than a couple hundred yards away from a new STEM school that's put in place. If this thing explodes or does anything of the sort, of which they deny all of it and say that it's all fancy and it won't happen, you will have to strap on N95 masks on small children. Anybody ever tried to do anything with a small child? I would not be want to be the person who wants to strap on an N95 mask the correct way. If any adult here has ever strapped on an N95 mask correctly, I don't think anybody has. I can't even do it.
Time, please. Thank you.
So, anyways, all's not lost. There's still hope. That's it.
Any further public comment? All right, at this time, I will close public comment on this item. I thank you all for being here, sharing your comments with the board. I want to remind the board members, public comment is closed, but before we move into item 15, I'm going to give the board an opportunity to provide any comments, just reminding you that this item has to go to the Planning Commission, so just be mindful of not influencing the Planning Commission from this dais this evening.
Okay, so I do want to say something. First of all, I appreciate all of you being here. It's not easy to sit up here and have things said in a very angry manner toward you and criticize what you've done up to this point. luckily, my prior career developed thick skin for me, but I can't speak for the rest of the board. But for me, I will say, I'm glad you guys are here in spite of that, in spite of how difficult that moment is for us. But I'm glad you're here, and I want you to know that I do hear you. And I discourage the, I guess, personal attacks. I do appreciate the people, I appreciate all of you for being here and stating what you've stated. And I understand the emotion behind it. So, but I do appreciate the people that, give us a little bit of grace. I mean, we're not perfect, obviously, and we have work to do, but we hear you. I hear you. And that's all.
Thank you for saying that.
I would like to add, I also appreciate you being here, and engaged citizenry is really important. And we don't get to select what people find important. We wait and we hear that from the people. I do want to remind everyone, though, that these board meetings are not the only time to speak to the board. Individually, we are all available all week, and we also have staff members who are available all week during our office hours that can sit down and have the conversations and answer questions, because we can't do that during this time. This is only a one-way communication. But we certainly look forward to that engagement during our office hours outside of board meetings. That's all.
Thank you, Dusty. Michael?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody as well. And, it's important. Many times we will not agree, but hearing you and having that interaction is very important. One thing that, I've learned over time is sometimes you make mistakes, and sometimes you learn from the mistakes. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you put the time and effort into trying to find out more. And all of you have challenged everybody up here to do that, which makes us a better community. I wish more of you would be here for more of this, because many times sitting here, we're looking out at nobody. And even somebody who disagrees with you, at least is somebody there who's involved. So thank you. I've thanked you for motivating your community, which I think is very important. And as I said before, we may not always agree on things, but getting people to a public meeting, I commend every one of you for doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Any comments?
Sure. I do want to thank everyone for coming out and sharing their views. I'm glad we were able to put this on the agenda and have this meeting. Feel free to reach out to me. Some of you already have, and I've returned your calls or your messages. I appreciate that. My personal phone number is on the website under my name at the township. Anytime, email, whatever. That's important to keep that dialogue up, so you know what's going on and we know what's going on and what's important. Thank you.
Mr. Ford? All right, thank you. I want to extend my thanks for you being here and sharing your thoughts and comments, and frankly, educating me personally. I am paying attention and reading all the stuff y'all are putting out, so I know it's challenging, but I do appreciate it. And certainly, yes, as Clerk Farmer said, we are available to you as needed, whenever you need. I'm going to close item 14 now, and the board is moving into closed session for written opinion of council. I want you to know that this written opinion of council is regarding a separate contract matter, and it is not closed session discussing the BEST project. So there will be more public comment after we return back from closed session, but I just want to at least provide to let you know that the BEST project is not why we're going into closed session. It's regarding a different contract matter. So with that, I will accept a motion to take us into closed session.
I have to enter closed session to discuss written opinion of council.
I'll second.
I have a motion by trustee Ford, a second. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we have a resolution. Clerk Farmer.
Trustee Ford.
Yes.
Trustee Chapman.
Yes.
Trustee Cole.
Yes.
Trustee Sikora.
Yes.
I vote yes. Treasurer Bushka is absent. Supervisor Bell.
Yes.
We are in closed session.
All right, thank you. We're in closed
Are you ready for us back there? Okay, I make a motion to return to open session.
Support. I have a motion by trustee Ford and support from trustee Cole. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6 with 1 absent. Next, we turn to item number 16, which is an opportunity for public comment. Do we have any further public comment? No? Do we have any hands online? Okay. We'll close the second opportunity for public comment and move to item number 17, which is board member comments and committee updates. And start with Mr. Ford.
I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sikora?
Yeah, thank you. Friends of the Parks met last week. Among other things, we reviewed our progress, discussed volunteer and sponsor recognition, formed the Music in the Parks Subcommittee, approved pursuing certain grant opportunities, and discussed the online community ambassador position. Also want to thank everyone for being understanding and working with the change in the agenda. Really appreciate that. And just in case no one else was, I want to remind everyone that our next meeting is on Monday, November 10th, instead of Tuesday, because November 11th is a holiday. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Cole? Thank you. Trustee Chapman?
The planning commission had a meeting, in case you didn't know. We discussed the comprehensive plan and took citizen comments regarding battery electric storage systems, which I think you were probably aware of. It was a very lively conversation and well attended by our community. We will be continuing our work on the comprehensive plan, going through section by section. They have been very considerate of the concerns that have been raised, and they have been good partners to work with.
I watched the meeting, I watched the whole meeting, and I thought that, I mean, there's a lot of public comment at that meeting as well, but also the walkthrough with our consultant through the comprehensive master plan was very good. So I think it's worth a watch to, you know, if you want to start, eventually that 250-page document is coming our way, so you might want to get your appetite whet for that. But she did a really nice job. Clerk Farmer.
Thank you. We do have an election on November 4th, and that means that we will have, the clerk will be holding office hours this Saturday from 7 to 3 as we prepare for that election. If anybody needs to come in to get a last-minute absentee ballot, you're certainly welcome to. We will be here, smiles on, partying down on a Saturday.
Supervisor, can I add one more?
Sure, go ahead.
Just in light of the comments we had, I'm not going to be ignoring anybody, but I will be on military service starting tomorrow, returning on the 7th of November. So I will have limited availability.
Oh, thank you for that, Trustee Chapman. I'm wondering, we can talk offline, but I'm wondering, we could perhaps assign, like perhaps the legal department to check your township emails for you in your absence, or I don't know. I mean, just, it's up to you. And I understand you're not going to be available anyway, so I guess it's moot, but.
Electronically, I'll be available, but I wouldn't be able to answer phone calls if any phone calls come
Got
through.
it.
So it's more of a message to the community that I'll answer any emails that come through in the evening, but I wouldn't be able to answer phone calls live.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to offer if we could help anyway, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you for your service. From the supervisor's office, I think just a couple of top lines. I think I mentioned during the meeting, we have started a conversation with Rich and the legal department about what information we can share with the public regarding this BES. I mean, it really needs to be very fact-based. So maybe adding a page to our website, and that way we can direct people from our communication to that as well. We are going back to the regarding a finance manager. So stay tuned on that. I know, it's been, yes, yes. You know, and I'm happy, I don't want to do details from the dais regarding that. We definitely are interviewing some great candidates, and people make choices that fit better for their own personal life. And so, and I understand it, it still leaves us working to fill that position. So Sarah, the HR director, and I, along with the clerk, because this position ultimately reports to the clerk, will be focusing our attention and taking another deep dive into that position and seeing what can happen there. And then, just for a matter of information, I know Trustee Ford and Trustee Cole are on the police committee. I did receive the draft contract from the Sheriff's Department, and so I'll be calling a meeting of that police committee and sharing that draft. I've shared it with legal so that Jim can start reviewing it. But we will want to get that probably on one of our agendas in November, because it has to go to the county for adoption. So I just wanted to let you all know that that is coming. And with that, I think our meeting is adjourned, and everybody have a great night.